Chris,
well, listen, Mark, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up here?
How much coffee did you drink before the show?
Listen, you can't polish a sneaker, right? throw tomatoes at me, do whatever you're going to do.
It's Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. It's free agency time. It's free agency time. It's free agency time. And I'm joined as always by Mark Catone and your calls and chats, 855-313-PATS, 855-313-7287. And our producer director, Joe Guarneri, has got us up on YouTube, live chat going. Hey, and listen, everyone, make sure you subscribe to the show. I'm going to say it throughout the show so Joe doesn't yell at me and Mark doesn't yell at me and everybody else. So make sure you're subscribing out there on YouTube. But the chat is up. We want to hear from you today. We got a lot to talk about. And I hope you like the NFL because we're going to be talking free agency pretty much the whole show. And rightfully so, because the Patriots exploded the last 2 days. Mark, let's just jump into it. But first, let's talk about free agency as it relates to the league. Who's left? What's happening? Mark, it's exploded here, right?
I think the New York Jets have done such a great job.
Yeah, as always. That's why I'm wearing the green shirt, because I think that, I'm in full support of the of the New York Jets. But Mark, listen, there's been a lot of guys that are gone. Some releases that have happened. Okay, talking about the salary cap and so on and where it went to and who that benefits. But Mark, let's run this down. I mean, for the people out there that are thinking about some of these players and is their team going to pick somebody up? The New England team, what they've done, I mean, they've done a ton. Mark, looking at starting in the AFC East, I mean, these are guys that we feel will be, that are free agents, and maybe some of them, even as we speak, will have signed already. As to the things we're talking about. So, Mark, getting into it, who are we seeing? Let's get into the AFC East. Let's talk about that, okay? Because that's the division that is really that affects us more than anything. It used to be that it was an automatic New England wins the division, but now we got to pay attention to who's going where. So, Mark, let's start with Buffalo.
So, Buffalo, Chris, really, I mean, other than re-signing a couple of guys that were already theirs, like Milano and Williams. They really don't have much room to make many moves. I mean, they gave all that money to Stephon Diggs, right? And they gave some other money out last year. They're going to give money. The quarterback's going to get $1 zillion at some point, right? So, because I don't think they've extended him yet, correct?
No, they have not yet.
So they're going to have to give him $1 zillion. So they really haven't jumped in with anything. I don't think Buffalo hasn't really, so to speak. So, they're just sitting around watching the activity, I think. I think they figure they're in a position like New England used to be, a couple of minor additions, and they probably assume they're ready to contend, right?
Yeah, I mean, linebacker Matt Milano agreed to a 4-year deal. Feliciano, Darrell Williams, nothing real, Buffalo's going to be what they're going to be, you know, and as Allen takes them, they will take them. So, moving on to Miami, and we'll keep New England for last because we're going to talk about New England.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Miami would be a little more active because I thought they had some cap space, but something funny is going on in Miami, Chris. And I say that because, okay, they released Kyle Van Noy, which I thought was a strange release. And so they knew when it happened. But
given how he played, he
was hurt last year and he still played well for them.
Right.
But it seems as though, Chris, it doesn't seem to be a place people want to go for some reason. Like I thought, there's not that buzz you would think about Miami because we thought the coach was a player's coach. They liked playing for him. But I don't get that buzz around Miami right now. And I don't know what that is.
Yeah, a lot. Van Noy. I know Van Noy's a character. I know he's he's a little off with some of the things he says. But, that's nothing Flores didn't know when he brought him in there. He coached this guy. So he knew what he was about. So, I'm with you. Now, unless they're getting ready to make that mega deal before the draft where they're going to bring Watson in, which is everybody keeps talking about. I mean, Isaiah Wilson, McKinney, the punter. That's all they did. That's all they did. So I'm with you. I mean, if this team's going into the next season with Tua as their quarterback,
and
I'm okay with that.
And if they think they just got to bring in a couple of small pieces, they're not that close. We talked about this last year, Chris. They won 10 games. Number one, because they had a real easy schedule. I mean, outside of the AFC East, I don't think they, but not just that. It's a bad league. We talked about this. I mean, New England won 7 games. They could have won 9 or 10, and New England was a bad team. So I think Miami's record was kind of, it was kind of smoke and mirrors. They're really not that good of a team.
Yeah, listen, I think you're right. I mean, I think you're right. I think obviously, I mean, honestly, it is Buffalo's division to lose.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's Buffalo's division to lose right now. And, it sucks to say that as a Patriots fan. But again, I mean, it is. But yeah, Miami's done nothing. I mean, we'll leave New England alone just for a minute. And then we get over to the Jets. Now, the Jets have a little more money to spend. I mean, they brought in Corey Davis. That's their big signing. Bringing in Corey Davis, 3 years, $37.5 million. They brought in the defensive end.
They brought in Lawson, supposedly, and he's a ball player. He's a good ball player.
So
that was a good That was a good signing.
I don't know who's throwing him the ball. It's still going to be Darnold. And listen, I know the pot calling the kettle. You know what I mean? I get it. And we'll get to that.
They're gonna draft. They're gonna take the kid from BYU second in the draft. Though,
Wilson.
Too, I think. Yeah.
But is he going to be ready to play?
Well, that I don't know. But they're gonna take. They're gonna take him. Yeah, they're gonna take him.
So we'll see on that. And again, so that's that situation. When you go to the North, Baltimore. I mean, they let Junan go. Obviously,
they let 2 guys go.
Yeah.
They let the other guy go. The other defensive tackle went to Oakland. Oakland, yeah, Las Vegas.
Oakland, fine. But who they signed? The guard, Zeitler, Justin Ellis. Yeah, he re-signed. So they kept him.
He re-signed. Yeah.
Okay, so then you go to Cincinnati. Who cares about Cincinnati? Cleveland.
Cleveland signed their safety, and that's all they've signed.
That's it.
They signed their safety, and the guy's a good safety. Don't get me wrong.
Pittsburgh is surprising. Look, they got a corner. I get it. He's staying. Well, that corner's staying in Pittsburgh now. Yep. Okay. But God, they need more help there, and they haven't done anything yet. Now, tomorrow it opens. So, I mean, there may be, but we agree.
There'll be a flurry of activity tomorrow, but I think a lot of the guys that, a lot of these impact free agents are kind of starting to come off the board slowly because let's face it, Chris, with the salary cap, the market for these guys, I think the players sat around and thought, okay, let's see what this market settles into. And it's not spending, right? Teams aren't spending.
No.
So we kind of thought that was going to happen, and it's happening.
Because it's a quick thing now. They just did the cap the other day. They just dropped it went down $15.5 million. It went to 182.5 million. And we already talked about that helps New England. Because these teams are scrambling now.
So, Chris, it went down to 182 million, but then also is in regards to negotiating, teams typically set a percentage under the cap they want to stay, right? For tax purposes and all this other stuff. So in actuality, it went down even more than that, depending on what team you're on, because these different ownership groups they set a limit and they set a percentage. Well, we're going to be within this percentage of the cap. So typically teams don't exceed that or hit it. I mean, in some cases they do, but with revenue the way it was this year, every team, the owners all made kind of like almost like a pact, almost like collusion, that they were going to stay at a certain level below the cap just to save money because of what happened, and not knowing what the fan situation will be next year in these stadiums for money.
You know how I feel about the cap. Okay. I think the cap is it's garbage, the crap cap. It doesn't make it means nothing. The only time to me the cap means anything, okay, is with quarterback money, because quarterback money goes against the bottom line. That goes against what's coming in for profits. And when you give a guy a $500 million contract, I mean, you're talking about now serious money, 40, 50 million. I mean, 100. These guys are getting money that now affects the owner's bottom line. That affects the books. So when it comes to that kind of money, yes, I get the cap matters, but otherwise, there's so much manipulation of the cap that can be done. It's absurd. I mean, you can spread things out. And by the way, this misconception that, players that agree to extend their money out or like Brady did, keep restructuring. That's the word I'm looking for. These guys that keep restructuring, people look at it and say, well, what a great guy, Players they're not sacrificing anything. They're getting the same money. They're getting the same amount of money spread over a course of longer. And in fact, you could even argue that it's better for the player because it's a cash flow thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you have more cash, you have cash flow coming in for longer, and for tax purposes for them. And not to get too far, we need special sauce podcast for this. But the bottom line is, they would have to, it's spread out longer. So for tax purposes, the income isn't as much at one given time. They can spread it out. So this whole notion of, hey, the players are really, really, they're really taking a hard sacrifice for the team. And no, they're not. They're getting their money, Mark.
Chris, like you said, when you look at these contracts, right? And I'll use New England as an example. So everyone's saying, oh my God, they've spent $200 million on free agents already. No, they haven't. You got to look at what the guaranteed money is, right? You got to look at it's complicated, right? You got to look at the number of years of the contract. You got to look at the guaranteed money. You got to look at the how much that guaranteed money was. Then you got to look at, okay, so how much can they spread out over the course of the 4 years? How much of it is then also played into a signing bonus that's guaranteed, but it's a signing bonus. All these things don't count against your bottom line cap for year one. So if you look at the Patriots and how they've structured these contracts, with all the money they've spent, I bet you they still got 20, 30 million available to sign more players, just because these contracts are all 3 and 4 year contracts. So they're not signing guys to 1 year. So they're able to spread out money, give signing bonuses, do all this stuff to manipulate the amount of money they have available. And that's why they're doing these deals the way they're doing them.
And so early. And see, that's the whole thing, the supply and demand. I mean, the reason why Jacksonville, New England, Houston, let's see, we're going to see what Houston did. Because I think it's important for you out there to know what some of these key additions to these teams were and some of the subtractions, because it does affect us at home. It comes home to roost always. So, Mark, it matters about the timing of all this too, because when the salary cap comes out, and we say the salary cap is crap, but it also affects your releases. It affects your restructures. The bottom line is, the supply demand is shifted. There's less teams bidding for these guys now. And so now a team like New England, a team like Houston that has $60 million over the cap, whatever it is, okay, they don't have to wait. They can come in, swoop in right at the beginning of free agency during the tampering period. And for those of you who don't understand, there's legal tampering right now. So basically free agency began yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what that's about.
Right. It's not set to be official until tomorrow. And those contracts that you're hearing about will become final tomorrow.
Yeah, 4 p.m. tomorrow.
But the legal tampering period is in. We're within that right now. And so that's the whole point of this. These teams are hard pressed. They're against the cap. They have to find money. So by the time they figure out now with the cap where it is, how to restructure, who to release, teams like New England, Jacksonville, Houston are swooping right in, and they're taking these guys, Now, so maybe they're taking them for a little more money than they should. And when we talk about the Patriots, we'll talk about some of that. Okay. Well,
Chris,
but the bottom line is that's what it is.
No, you're right. And the other thing you mentioned, Chris, about releases and all of this, and that's the other thing that you're going to see because of the salary cap and because teams are trying to make moves to bring in some free agents or to improve rosters. The rumor, well, not the rumor, the logic is June 1st is the next big window of opportunity for teams, because there's going to be so many releases because of the salary cap that it's almost going to be like a second round of free agency, but this time with veterans. They're expecting the biggest release of players this year than maybe in the history of this whole process.
Right.
So we'll see.
It's as I said, it's one of these situations where, and it happened to hit New England. Right. It happened to hit them just at the right time where they got this kind of money and they can do these kinds of things right now. So, it's in their benefit at this stage. And you're right about the releases. Hey, look, there's going to be so many releases from so many teams that, again, the supply demand. This is where Belichick will come in June, and they'll get you a few veterans that they need and the things like that, because there'll be so many guys out there. They'll listen. I'll make a prediction to you. there'll be more quality in releases possibly than in free agents.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's I mean, Mark, look at what we have. I mean, we don't have to get to every team,
because
but
what's going to happen? What happens too, Chris, is you get somebody falls in your lap in the draft, and now you're like, hey, I don't need this receiver I'm paying $7 million to anymore. This kid just dropped to me in the draft. We wanted him. So now, and the reason they use June 1st is it's something with the league year, but it's also something with salaries where these contracts kick into like bonuses and everything else after June 1st. So you're going to see a bunch of releases. But when somebody falls in your lap in the draft, now you can release a veteran after June 1st. And that typically is what happens. So it's going to be even more.
Yeah, and listen, and Mark, again, here's more of an example of what I'm talking about. So you got the Houston Texans, right? They have a lot of money to spend. This is what they've done, okay? Mark Ingram, they bring in. Now it's a 1-year deal, $3 million, $500. That's not. But Andre Roberts agrees to a 2-year deal, $5.5 million. Marcus Cannon, okay? All right? Acquired in a trade. So they're going to have to pay him too, okay? McCray, 2-year, $4 million. Justin Britt, 1 year, $3.5 million. Shaq Lawson, okay, they get him in a trade with Miami. Okay, so they're gonna have to pay him. Bernard McKinley, Collins. You see what I'm saying? Like Terrence Brooks, $2 million. I mean, they're just in a position because they just have so much more leeway. You know, teams like that, teams like Jacksonville, Carlos Hyde, Agnew, Philip Dorsett,
and if you look at
Cam
the Texans,
Robinson,
Chris,
you know what I mean? It's
Chris. If you look at the pickups of the pickup of the Texans, it's very Patriot like a lot of those names aren't the big names. They're under the radar guys, some of them, but that's a Casario move because that's what he learned how to do here, right? That's supposedly his expertise is to get those guys at that level, right? But the one signing for Houston that I think you were busy working and you didn't catch it. They signed the quarterback. The Houston Texans signed the quarterback.
Let's hear it, Mark.
$10 million. They signed Tyrod Taylor.
This is what I mean. This is what I'm saying. Now, again,
is that indicative of the next shoe that's going to drop over there? I don't know.
Listen, $10 million is not,
No, it's not.
I'd have to see the contract.
But for a backup, well, Chris, they said it could go up to $12 million.
Okay. I mean, you know why? Because I heard some criticism today about the Newton deal, which we're going to get into. And somebody's just saying it's $13 million. It's $13 million. It's not $13 million. It's $5 million.
Supposedly, Taylor's deal is $10 million. Supposedly.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, he's a backup. I mean, that's it. He's a backup quarterback.
Maybe.
I still think
maybe he's the starter when Watson goes.
I keep telling you this, and I keep telling everybody out there this. I do not think Watson is going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere because I don't think Casario and company are going to let this guy out. He just signed a contract 8 months ago.
Listen, he claims he's not playing, Chris.
Yeah, well, then I think they're going to make him sit out.
All right, well, that'll be interesting.
I really think they'll make him sit out.
That's going to be interesting to see who blinks first.
But again, Broncos are in the same situation. They just paid Darby 3 years, $30 million, includes $19 million guaranteed. So that's really like, a 1.5, 2 year deal, But think about that kind of money for that corner. Is Darby really worth $20 million guaranteed?
And they just picked up, Chris. They thought he was going to be a release, and they didn't release him. They just picked up the $18 million option, and that's real money on Von Miller.
Yeah. And how about and close to home, Joe Thuney goes and signs with the Chiefs. Now look, and in the next segment when we talk about the Patriots, we're going to talk about some of the criticisms of Belichick and their spending and their overspending and all these things that the good teams don't have to do this. Okay. Well, Mark, you know how I feel about a guard. Okay. 5 years, $80 million, $32 million fully guaranteed. The 3rd-year contract is only guaranteed for injury. However, it converts to a full in 22. Okay. Which brings the guaranteed to $48 million. So
basically, he signed a $48 million contract for 3 years, Chris.
Pretty much. So how is it now? So if you go by the argument that
he's never going to see the $80 million.
Right. So if you go by the argument that I'm hearing right now, okay, which is only the bad teams have to go and sign players for money like that. Is Kansas City a bad team?
No.
I don't understand. They have offensive line issues.
Yeah, they do.
No, I get it. The bad teams have to do more of that.
Yeah.
and they're bad for different reasons. And we'll get into why the Patriots are bad and they're drafting. We've already covered that.
Chris, we'll get into that, but we'll also get into the fact that I don't necessarily know if the Patriots overplayed for anybody in this. When we talk, we're going to really break down the structure of those salaries, and we'll talk about it when we get into that section.
Do you have any idea how much Joe hates when we talk about, we're going to get into it?
Well, because we have so much to talk about, we have to say that tonight.
Yeah, no, listen, I know, Joe, I understand, but we have to have, this is such a confusing time in the NFL with free agency. If we don't have some semblance of order here, it's going to just sound like a mosh posh of information that's going out to these people. I'm going to be honest with you. If
you're just a casual fan who obviously watches football, roots for football, but you're not a lunatic like we are, you may not truly get the nuances of some of these contracts and salary cap and all this other nonsense, but because we're lunatics, we kind of get it. So, we just want to explain to our viewers, so they can better comprehend what some of these people are saying on TV and radio makes absolutely no sense. Some of these people, I'm like, where are they? Are they nuts? They don't even know what they're talking about, Chris.
Yeah, I know. So again, as we said, we've covered a few of these teams. We're not going to do them all. We got to get the break, and then come back. We're going to talk about the Patriots. But
I think it's important, Chris, that we point to the AFC East, because the AFC East hasn't done much.
The point is, there's a lot of money being spent with teams that are both good and teams that didn't finish well last year. It's just the way the landscape of the NFL is right now. And we both agree too. There's going to be a lot more cuts, a lot more releases of guys that we think will be able to help at least the New England Patriots.
And we think the Patriots are going to make some releases and possible trades and cuts too, Chris. We don't think that they're going to, the guys that were existing on that roster, we don't think they're all going to stay.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mark. And so when we come back, we're going to get into the Patriots. We're going to get into their free agency, what they've done, and they've been real busy in these last couple of days. I want to talk about some of the criticisms that we're hearing and some of the things that we think are going to happen. So all that and more on the other side, I was going to say Pat's Nation, Mark, because we're so into the Patriots today that I was actually going to say Pat's Nation more after this.
No.
Welcome back to the Special Sauce Podcast. I have a very special guest here, Brittany Droz. Brittany, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about all things culture, psychology, and business excellence.
My audience is going to love that. So tune in, folks, specialsaucepodcast.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. And since we are the real deal New England feel, let's get into it, Mark. Listen, let's first recap what they've done in the last 2 days. Mark, you want to do that or you want me to do that?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So they re-signed Cam Newton. We knew that. 1 year deal up to 14 million or 13 million with I feel like a base of $5 million. We agree on that?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, guaranteed. Now they signed Judon from Baltimore, who played for Baltimore, the defensive end, to a 4-year, $56 million deal, $32 million guaranteed. Now, I don't know if the structure of the guaranteed is over 2 years or if that's now. That I don't know. Maybe Joe can find that. Then they signed Aguilar.
That Chris, they never let you know, because that is always somehow worked into bonuses and spread out. There's no way that's a 1 year, $32 million guarantee.
Well, we may figure that out tomorrow when the deal is finalized.
Yeah.
Aguilar, the wide receiver that played for Oakland or wherever they're from now, Vegas, 2 years, 26 million, 11 million base. So, he's guaranteed some money too. Smith, the tight end from Tennessee, 4 years, $50 million, 31 guaranteed. Mills, the defensive back from Philly, I believe, 4 years, 24 million, 9 million guaranteed. They picked back up Trent Brown, for a pick. They traded for him though, for a pick swap. And Mark, you can detail that in a minute. They re-signed Dietrich Wise for 4 years, $30 million. Okay. $10 million guaranteed. That's Dietrich Wise, which we're going to get into that one. And Mark, say the name. I can't. The defensive tackle from, is it Godshaw?
Devon Godshaw.
The defensive tackle from Miami, 2 years, $16 million, $9 guaranteed. Bourne, wide receiver that played with San Fran, 3 years, $22.5 million. Anderson, the defensive tackle, 2 years, $7 million. It's a max value of $11 million in incentives. Bethel, they re-signed 3 years, $6 million at about 2 3/4 guaranteed. Mills was the defensive back out of Philly. Yes. Not who did I say? Yeah, I know. Maybe. Oh no, you know what? I did say that. I did mention Mills. 4 years, $26 million. And by the way, a lot of these guys, most of these guys are all Rosenhaus guys. By the way, four to five or something. Four or five or something. 4 of these guys are Rosenhaus guys, which is a Belichick guy, which is good. That's good.
Because Rosenhaus has the corner on the market, Chris.
Yeah, anyway. Absolutely. So yeah. Oh, by the way, we get a chat for listen, Joe. Am I saying this right? IDAT 0.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, Mark. See, I'm up with it. I understand.
There you go, Chris.
I got it, right? I got it. I'm with it. IDAT 0 saying hello. Welcome back in. Good to have you back. And by the way, IDAT, let us know if you think the Patriots overspent today, because we want to know from you. We want to know from all of you what you're thinking of the Patriots and what this all means. So, Mark, this is what they've done up to now.
Chris, you missed a big signing today.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the Hunter Henry deal.
Yes.
I apologize. So Hunter Henry, and the terms were, Mark?
What did he get? $37 million for 3 years with I want to say 20-something million guaranteed, 25 maybe 24.
Right. So that's probably the biggest deal out of them all, of everything they did, was the Hunter Henry deal, because it's just so funny, Mark. I'm trying to look up the
and they just put across. We were just speaking about the AFC East, Chris. They just flashed that Emmanuel Sanders signed with Buffalo.
Okay. Well, that's upsetting to you a little bit, because
yes, it is. I'm very upset about that. Yes.
Yeah. So, by the way, Hunter Henry, $37.5 million, $25 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So you were right there. Yeah, that's disappointing with Sanders. I mean,
he's 34 years old. But I think
I think he would have been a nice compliment here.
He would have been. He's he's off the board.
So anyway, who's that leave? I mean, the other guy you were talking about was
I like Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins too.
And the other guy I talked to you about today, who I said runs a 4.240, John Ross. You could get him cheap money. He signed with the Giants for $2.5 million today, 1 year.
John Brown is still out there too.
John Brown's still out there. So anyway, but
getting back to ours
signings. Let's get into the signings.
So okay, let's take them. Let's take them in order. Let's leave the re-signs for a second. Okay.
Yep.
So we won't talk about Newton. We won't talk about Weiss.
So Chris, why don't we attack the two positions you and I said they had to address, was wide receiver and tight end? Let's talk about them first.
Okay. So let's get into the tight ends. I mean, that's what everybody at this point is salivating over.
Yep.
Coming into this,
well, first of all, let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think they overpaid for those guys?
What's overpay, Mark? See, this is the whole thing. Okay.
I don't know, but I don't think they did, Chris. I'm going to be honest with you. So, but anyway, I just wanted to see what you.
Well, let's talk about Hunter Henry first. Okay. So, okay, I have to answer that question then, and tell me why you don't think they overpaid.
Because Chris, the top of the market for that position is about $15-16 million. I think Kittle might be making like $16.5 million. And then I think Kelsey's at like 14, right? So you're paying two guys about, I think Smith might be getting 12 and Henry might be getting 12.5 million, right? When you look at the guaranteed money. I would argue they're two of the top 5 or 6 tight ends in this entire league. I would argue that. I would argue Hunter Henry's probably third. I think he's right behind those two guys that are getting paid all that money. So for $12.5 million, I don't think you overpaid. You probably played market value for two of the best, maybe even a little cheap, less for two of the best tight ends in football. Listen, The days of getting a guy to come in on a 1-year deal for $8 million. We talked about this, Chris, before free agency. Those days are gone. That don't happen anymore. But I don't think you had to overpay. We talked about before free agency. To get a guy like that to come here, nobody wants to come here. Maybe you're going to give him $16 million. You didn't have to.
Yeah. You could take it from the other end too. And you could say you think you overpay for Hunter Henry. Okay. And let's take Smith. I mean,
I don't think we did.
What's Smith's year? No, not you. I mean, people think that.
Yeah.
What's Smith's yearly deal? What does that come down to?
I think it comes out to about $12 million.
Okay. So if you're
On
looking
average.
at those two guys, $12-13 million, is this what we're looking at for these two guys who were the two best tight ends in the free agent market?
Yes.
We agree on that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So you're paying that. If you say the market value,
Both guys, Chris, are 25, 26 years old.
okay.
Prime
So
of
if
their
you
careers.
say, if you're saying the market is somewhere between 13 and 16, yeah.
For a top
That's
tight
what-
end in this league, for a top tight end.
Okay. And because Kittle's making 16.
Yep.
Okay. So
And I think Kelsey's making about 14 or 15.
well, so the market really isn't up that high. The market's a little lower because you have to take into account the lower tiered.
Yep.
So
Yes.
here's how I'll make sense of this to you and to you all out there. How much production did Gronkowski have in Tampa last year?
I don't know. Maybe Joe can look that up. Not a hell of a lot, I don't think.
No,
But
I don't
we
know what
have-
his stats were, but they weren't great. I mean, he didn't have a ton of touchdowns. He didn't even have a ton of receptions.
He
Yeah,
might
he
have
had a good Super
Chris,
Bowl.
He might have had about 8 touchdowns, 500 yards, I bet. 600 yards at most. 500.
You think? I don't think he had that much.
He might have.
I don't think.
He might
Joe,
have. No?
you got to look
Joe,
up
look
Gronk.
it up, Joe.
Look up Gronk stats, please, for last season, 2020. The bottom line to me is Gronk, I don't think provided, anything close to what Henry and Smith.
He
are
was a
gonna
good
provide.
blocker, though. He was a good
Okay.
blocker.
They just re-signed him he's a good blocker. That's fantastic. They re-signed him for 10. They give him $10 million, Mark. Is he worth $10 million right now
No.
at this stage?
No. No.
There's nothing in me that thinks he's worth $10 million. I'm sorry. I don't think so. Which is why I thought he would take his 10 million and then just retire. Because I didn't think anybody
Well, but
would
because
give
that
him
10,
that.
well, he'll continue to make that money as long as Brady's there.
Well,
I mean,
that's what I'm
with,
saying.
45 receptions, 623 yards, 7 touchdowns.
Damn,
That's
I
a
was
quick
close,
skinny.
Chris. I was close, Chris. I
Okay.
said 500-600 yards, 8 touchdowns. I was close.
So is he? So then I guess he's worth 10 million. Okay, fine. You think he's worth?
No,
10
I don't
million?
think. No. I don't think he's worth $10 million. What are those stats are okay.
Well, because
Just not-
Smith had less than that.
he did, but he was hurt.
Right, exactly. He did that
6
in the
games.
first
6-7
4
games, 8
games?
games,
Yeah,
8
5
games.
games.
Yeah.
He had like all his touchdowns in the first 4 games, I believe. Okay.
Anyway, all
So
right.
okay. So the bottom line to
though,
me
is
is
the kid is
I
in
don't
his
think they
mid-20s,
overspent.
though.
I don't think they overspent, and I don't even understand what overspend means anymore because we just argued that the cap means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen,
So this
Chris,
overspend.
This show's about the Patriots. I get it. But look at what Tampa Bay, and I don't want to bring up Tampa Bay after this anymore tonight, but look what they're doing down there. Like, to your point, the cap means nothing, Chris. They restructured Brady's deal and maybe played around with the books a little bit. And all of a sudden, they got enough money to bring everybody back. So to your point, Chris, the cap it means nothing.
No, and you know what, Mark? Before we get back into Patriots again, I listened all day. These people, and and they had commented on it today. These people in New England, these guys on the so-called flagship station. Okay,
Yeah.
with you know what's funny too? What's funny to me about this is you got the flagship station of the New England Patriots, and guys are showing up to work with
Tampa Bay
creamsicle,
sweatshirts on.
with
yeah,
Tampa Bay
that guy's a
sweatshirts,
fool.
Tampa
That
Bay
guy's a
hats,
complete fool.
and just
He's a laughing stock. He makes a fool out of himself every time he shows up with that creamsicle shirt. Why? Because he's a Tom Brady fan. Yeah, he's a fool. He's an absolute fool.
every single time they do it, yeah, they stick it up. They're sticking it up the Patriots' ass, and they're
Yeah,
sticking it
okay,
up
good.
Belichick's ass.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
what they're
good.
doing, and I get it. And
get
today
it.
was no. Listen, I listen to these clowns. Okay, I listen to these clowns say that, just crucifying Belichick and company for not spending. How much do you
It's
remember
constant.
them just
It's constant.
crucifying them
It
for
was
not
constant.
spending?
It was constant.
Okay. Do you know what I heard today? And then I hear today is, well, they spent too much money. They spent too much money. They spent $200 million. And you know what? They're a team that never had to do that. Now all of a sudden they have to spend all the money because they're a bad football team. They misjudged this, and we're going to go over what they misjudged and all that. But
I understand that, Chris. I heard that too. They talked about how, he was such a poor general manager that now he's going to spend money to compensate for his deficiencies as a general manager. Okay, fine. All right, great.
So
maybe
I'll ask you people then on the flagship station. So you tell me, okay, if you got any guts, you call in right now. You write in. Explain to me the hypocrisy in what you're saying. You busted his chops because he didn't spend money for 20 years, okay? Yet won 6 Super Bowls. And now you're sitting there criticizing that they have to spend money. And now, they screwed up so bad that now they have to spend money. Which is it? I mean, which is it? So we'll leave that to you people to figure out. You want to listen to that flagship station, or do you want to listen to the real deal New England Field? I don't know. But Mark, the whole notion of and some of their stupidity was, if you're a good team, you don't have to do this. See, the Patriots are always a good team, so they didn't have to do this. They never had to do this.
Listen,
Mark,
I don't. But that's a stupid. That's a stupid comment, because we all agreed that the Patriots were a flawed team for a variety of reasons. They were a flawed team. We've talked about on this show, the real deal show, that they've made mistakes in the draft the last 3 or 4 years. We understand that. We totally understand that. But listen, they also were smart enough to understand. Listen. We've got the money. This is a one-time only. We have this kind of money. We'll never probably have it again. We have to go in and spend like no one's ever spent before and fix this. And now, if we can have 2 or 3 drafts and put 2 or 3 drafts together to add on to what we're going to fix, we'll be fine. Give them credit for doing that. No, they want to bust their beans and say, wow, it's because they don't know what they're doing. They screwed up. This is an acknowledgement that the roster was, for the reasons everybody knows, was weakened. So now they're fixing it. They're resetting it. What else are they supposed to do? Go 6-10 every year? You're going to reset.
Look, like I said,
it makes no sense.
I'm with you. I have no problem. Sitting here and saying Bill Belichick has sucked at the draft for the last 3 years and maybe more. He has. They've sucked at the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, we've chronicled that on the Pats Nation. We've talked about that on this show.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody's saying that he did a great job in drafting guys. Nobody. No. What I'm saying is, if your criticism is you used to be a team that didn't have to do this, now you're a team that does.
And that's a fair criticism. That's fair.
And now, and therefore you're one of the bad teams in the league, and all bad teams have to do this. And I get it. The percentage of free agents that you bring in isn't really in your favor of success. No. It's shown in the past that big free agents that come in, some pan out, some don't. It's not really, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, it doesn't always work out. So I get, and then you have to build through the draft, but the draft doesn't always work out either. But the whole thing is this: if that's your criticism, they drafted so poorly, and now, okay, now they have to spend money. Fine, I get the criticism. I understand that. But to say now, I don't understand why, you're spending all this money when you never had to do it. And you bitched them out years ago for saying they don't ever spend money. I don't understand. This team gets away with not spending money. You say, well, Bill's not a genius anymore because now he's just like everybody else that has to spend money. And good teams, this was the one I love. Good teams don't have to spend money. Really. So what did Kansas City do?
That's what did Tampa Bay just do?
Kansas City, listen, good teams don't have to do it as much. They don't have to bring 6 guys in. They can bring 3 guys in. I get that part. I understand. But the good teams in this league spend money. Tampa, you just mentioned. What did Tampa do? Jack Barrett. They right? Barrett it is. They gave him all that money. Okay. They gave Gronk $10 million.
Listen. Everybody wants to forget. How did Tampa Bay become Super Bowl champions. Shaq Barrett was a free agent signing from the Denver Broncos. Tom Brady was a free agent signing from the New England Patriots. Leonard Fournette was a pickup off of waivers. Antonio Brown was a pickup off of waivers. Gronkowski was a pickup off of a trade. What did they think that they drafted those guys? The reason they won the Super Bowl was because of guys that weren't on that roster the year before.
Well,
they didn't
Brady.
draft those. They didn't draft those guys.
Mark,
Wake up! The guy with the creamsicle shirt on the flagship station. Wake the hell up! They didn't draft those guys.
It just makes the point of what I'm trying to say. The bottom line is, and Mark, don't mistake it. You say, well, they're crafty. You know, Tampa Bay was crafty, and they basically did what the way Patriots used to do. Right? They basically they didn't. Yeah, okay. If you're saying
I'm dropping things over here now.
Joe, you're gonna irritate him. He's gonna come back on the screen and start talking to you about the equipment again. But they're saying, well, the Tampa Bay Bucks did exactly what the Patriots used to do. You know, they get guys on the cheap and this and that.
They didn't get nobody on the cheap. You just gave a broken down Rob Gronkowski $10 million. You got him on the cheap because he caught 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I get it. He's broken down. He's a quarter of what he was.
Right. You did exactly what Tom Brady wanted you to do. And it isn't like you were sly and sharp. You took these guys off the scrap heap. Yeah. Antonio Brown and Gronkowski were out of football. They were out of football. There was no team next to their name. Okay, the Patriots owned the rights, but they were out of football. Fournette was just about to be out of football. Okay, that guy was not. You know, he's getting long in the tooth also. So I mean, stop acting like they don't spend money. So the good teams, Kansas City, they spend money. They paid their quarterback $500. They paid their quarterback $500 million. They spend money. Seattle spends money. The Rams spend money. And I'm going through the teams that were in the playoffs now. Okay. Buffalo, Diggs. Not as many guys do they bring in. Okay. But you're going to sit here and argue that Buffalo has been so good in the draft. Why? Because they hit on Allen. Maybe hit on Allen. Let's see if he wins anything. Okay.
Yeah. Chris,
that's why.
Chris. Yeah. And you know what? I'm so sick of these people. They want to have it both ways, right? Listen. They did what they had to do this year to reset this roster, and now they've reset it. So now I think they're going to add in some lesser guys in free agency. Belichick will go back to his bringing in some B players, right? Which he does typically in free agency. That'll be cost guys that'll help you fill out the rest of this roster. And Jesus, you're drafting higher than you've drafted in years. You've got the 15th pick of the draft, and then you swapped picks with Houston. So now you moved up in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round. You got higher picks in each one of those rounds because of the Cannon deal. You got a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick. You got plenty of draft picks. Now you're going to really hit on the draft. Now you're going to hit on your draft picks.
Right. And we're going to go to break and we're going to continue.
Hey, Chris, when we come back, though, I do want to talk about those 2 wide receivers.
No, we are. We're going to continue this conversation about the Patriots. But, Mark, before we get there, the last thing I'll say on this little topic about the criticism back and forth, okay, is I heard them today talking about, the last time they did this was in 2007 when they spent a ton of money. They brought a lot of guys in, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's the only time they did it, and they didn't have to do it any other time. First of all, okay, you're talking about 14 years ago. I heard somebody say today, that's what it was. You're paying these tight ends all this money. You didn't pay that to Welker. You didn't pay that to Stallworth. You didn't pay that to Randy Moss. It was 14 years ago. Mark, however you earn income, have the salaries increased from 2007 to now?
And let me tell you something. When Randy Moss, after that original Randy Moss deal was up, when they brought him in from Oakland, okay, you did pay for him. You made him one of the highest paid receivers in football with that 2nd contract. Then he got a little disgruntled and you had to get rid of him. But yeah, you did pay Randy Moss for the 2nd contract. You most certainly did. He was one of the top paid receivers, and we were giving him a bunch of money for that time in the NFL. We gave him a bunch of money for 2 years, but he left. He didn't make it.
And, you know, we got a call that's coming in. And, Mark, just finish your point. And then we're going to get to the caller. Then we'll get the break.
And like you said, Chris, it was 14 years ago. It was relative. And listen, why? They didn't give a lot of money to Hernandez and Gronk. When they they extended those guys after those rookie deals, before those rookie deals were up. At the time, Gronkowski and Hernandez were making big money for tight ends. It was unheard of. People thought we were crazy. Well, then it turned out Gronkowski ends up being the best tight end in the history of the game. And Hernandez, who knows how good he could have been. But he was just a goddamn murderer in a cuckoo clock. But we did that. People forget we did that. Chris,
Let's go to the phone. Let's go. Yeah, I got you. Let's go to the phones right now. And I reason why I wanted to do this before break is because we got a little friend on the line with us again, and we have Olivia from Scottsdale. Go ahead, Olivia. You're on Corso and Catone.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
What's the topic today?
What's the topic today, Mark?
The Patriots.
That's right, the Patriots. We're talking about Patriots free agents.
Who's the new
Say that again. You're cutting out, Olivia. Go ahead. We want to give you full time to
player?
say
Who's the new player?
the new players. Yes, we have new players coming on. Okay, Judon and Smith. Do you like Smith?
Go Smith.
Go Smith. See, so she likes Smith. So Olivia, thank you for calling.
Welcome.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Little Olivia. We always love having little Olivia in. So Mark, when we come back again, I'm going to finish my little bit of criticism because I think the landscape has changed in the league, and I want to talk about that on the other side. So more Corso went to Catone right after.
And I also want to talk about a tweet from Patrick Chung.
Excellent.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. And Mark, on the front side of that, I was finishing a point, what I wanted to say, and we're so happy Olivia called in. What I wanted to say was, talking about the overspending, and saying, well, the Patriots never had to do these kinds of things. They were able to just get guys on the cheap, and, guys were willing to come in just to win a ring and all this other stuff. Mark's looking up some, Mark, every time I get
looking something up.
I need to explain to you guys what Mark's doing. Every time Mark's looking at his phone, it looks like, isn't he paying attention? Isn't he paying attention to what's going on?
I'm paying attention.
He's doing his homework. He's looking stats up. He's looking things up like that. Joe's got a lot to do in there. So I
can't rely on Joe. He's too slow.
Yeah. Unlike the flagship station, and they're so wrong all the time, and they got people looking stats up for them. We do it here. We do it all. That's what we're about. We get dirty. We do the grunt work, just like you guys out there. So we don't have that luxury. So, okay. What I'm saying is this. The criticism of New England saying they used to be able to just get guys on the cheap, have them come in, okay, because they want to win a ring, and they're coming in for the sole purpose of Brady, okay? Mark, listen.
Yep.
The landscape of the league has changed, okay? The type of player that's in the league today versus 10 years ago is night and day. Now, yes, did guys come in here to play with Brady, from 2012 on? I don't think it happened, much before that. It happened. Okay. But I think from 2000,
I don't think the guys we brought in 2007 wasn't necessarily because of Brady at that point yet. I don't think.
But if you want to say, okay, some guys came in to play with Brady, fine. Guys like Long, guys like that were on the tail, maybe Blunt, guys that were maybe on the tail end of the career, things like that. They want to try to win a ring. But to say, well, now, you stink now. But the point I'm trying to make is, the reason why they're not overspending, or they're not spending like other teams do in free agency because Brady left. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's not because Tom Brady left and now you can't follow the same formula you followed for the last 20 years or for the last 15 years. That's not the reason. The reason that you're spending the same as other teams right now and having to go get 6 guys and pay the most money for those 6 guys instead of 3 guys is because you drafted poorly. You mismanaged the draft, and therefore you don't have guys on rookie contracts that are 4-year deals, potentially 5 if they're first-round picks, that you can, like Andrews, like Murray, the linebacker, like Metcalf. You have stiffs like Harry on the roster. So the point is, that's why they're spending, and you're seeing them spend like other teams spend, and they didn't do before. It's not Tom Brady. That's not the reason. Maybe a couple of guys came in here, but that's not the reason. It's because you drafted poorly, and now you have to go overboard on how many guys you're bringing in for the high money that you're paying. And I just want to make that clear because it doesn't seem too clear to the experts around there that that's the reason. It's Tom Brady left, and now they have to spend a ton of money. That's not that's so. It's such a simplistic, moronic view of looking at this. I mean, right, Mark? Or am I stupid?
No, it is. It absolutely is. And Chris, a perfect example of that is, so we signed 2 of the best tight ends in football, right? So now we are the top 5 or 6 tight ends in football. I'd say you got 2 of them. But you wasted 2 third-round draft picks in last year's draft on what? Tight ends. Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily know if the kid Keene from Virginia Tech is really a tight end. He might be more of an H-back, but he was listed as a tight end.
Fullback, H-back, yeah.
Fullback, H-back, whatever you want to call him. But the kid Asiasi from UCLA is a tight end. So you just brought in 2 of the best tight ends in football. So how much play is Asiasi going to get now? I don't know, right? I don't know. But
he could try to develop now.
He could try to develop, but you moved up in the draft to take him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So to your point, Chris, you haven't handled the draft well the last few years, right? So that's why you had to spend some of this money on some of these people,
Well, yeah. Okay. So again, let's now go down. Let's talk about these guys. So what is Judon? How much he improves that? Talk about how he's improving that defense, because I think he does.
He's going to improve the defense, Chris, because not only is he an edge guy, he can cover, he can drop down and cover a running back out of the backfield. He has that type of athleticism. He could slide down the line. So now you can create mismatches like you used to create with the year they won the Super Bowl. My God, his name's what was his name, Chris? The defensive lineman, we lost him. I think he went to Detroit after. Do you remember his name?
Depends on.
He got a lot of money.
Year.
He got the year we beat Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'd have to go back.
You're asking me
hard questions.
I'd have to go back.
I mean, you know how many names I got on my friggin' head right now? You're talking to me about guys that happened 4 years ago.
But Chris, he allows you that flexibility. So not only does he come off the edge, if you know that the guard is weak on a team, Belichick will move him around the line and get him over the guard, right? That's what Belichick does, right? So this kid's going to allow Belichick some flexibility to use him in some different places in different ways. He's a perfect fit for this team.
It frees up Winovich.
Yeah.
Frees up now. Weiss is re-signed, so it frees Weiss up a little bit more. You're just going to get a guy that can get pressure. A guy that can get pressure. So there's that. I do like the Mills signing. Okay. I like the Mills signing. Why? And again, this is a Belichick guy. This versatility that he loves. How I think about that. I think they should have more, guys that are specialized. That's the way it is today. But he likes the versatility. Mills provides that. And it also shows me that some of these guys their days are maybe numbered. I'm not saying McCourty, but the other one, perhaps, if this guy can play in and out. So I like the Mills signing too. Is he worth 4 years, $24 million? I mean, we'll see. I may be a little bit high.
Yeah, but Chris, I don't think it's so. But if you look at his contract, Chris, it's 4 years, $24 million, but he's not getting, I guarantee you, he's not getting $6 million a year. Some of that money's probably, it's probably an incentive contract. He's probably got a signing bonus. I would guarantee you that contract, the 4th year of that contract is probably like a $9 million contract where he'll never see that money, but he's getting like 12 million up front. So he'll take the contract. I guarantee it.
Right. So again, I like the signing. I'm good with that. Bethel, I like because, excuse me, he's a special teams guy. Okay. And $6 million, that's not a big deal for a guy like that. He provides a lot for you on the special teams. Excuse me. So I like that. Mock, I can't even I'm all choked up over this.
Have a glass sip of water, something. Straighten yourself out, would you? Jesus.
Aguilar, talk about him.
Well, Aguilar's another one of those guys, Chris. So when he was with Philadelphia, he was more of a slot guy, right? And the knock on him was his hands, right? He was butterfingers. He dropped balls in the slot and all of that, right? And then all of a sudden he goes to the Raiders, and he becomes a stretch the field type of receiver. Carr's throwing all kind of balls downfield to him. And he's getting separation, and he's making all these plays. And he became a red zone receiver. He was jumping over guys in the red zone to make touchdowns, right? Now he's here. He's got, again, the versatility that Belichick and McDaniels like, because he can play in the slot and he can stretch the field. With the tight ends and with the kid Bourne that they got from San Fran, and if Edelman can give you anything, and I have a funny feeling, Chris, this year, the kid has progressed every single year. I think you're going to see Gunner become, when no one's talked about him, I think you're going to see him become more involved in the passing game as a slot receiver. He's not even paying attention to me, Joe. Come on,
I am paying
Joe.
attention to
Straighten
you.
him out, Joe.
Gunner is going to be more in the slot. I'm trying to look up. You know what I'm doing? I'm trying to look the guy up on the defensive line.
Number 91. Number 91
you know?
in the Atlanta Super Bowl. Number 91 in the Atlanta Super Bowl. Look it up. So,
okay.
But Gunner, I think, Chris, is going to become more involved in the
especially in the
game.
return, especially in the
Well,
passing
the return game, yes, but I think
great.
you're going to see them try to make him into an Edelman more this year in the slot. I believe you're going to see that with him. But so Aguilar, Chris, I think is going to be with these tight ends. It's going to make him, better than what he probably even is, because it's going to create openings for him.
It will. It will. If you got that middle, now see with the tight ends too, again, and that's how you can incorporate the tight ends into this too. Because I listen, I think Edelman's days are numbered here. I really do. So
listen, I hope Chris Edelman can give you 1 year. I really do. I really do. I hope he can give you. I hope he can give you 1 more year and say, "Hey, let's make a run."
I don't know, Mark. I don't know.
I don't think he. I don't think he will. But I'm hoping.
Look,
then there's your friend from the Pac-10.
Listen, let's get to him in a second, but I agree with you with Bourne. I agree with you with Gunner. He can provide that kind of thing. And again, the two tight ends, especially in the red zone, it's going to be really difficult to stop then. And look, if Cam's the guy, he's the guy, he'll walk some of those in then, with his running ability in that down in the red zone like that. So just taking away the tight end now, that's not really taking away Gronk basically and Edelman and flooding that center zone and making the quarterback throw to the edge. That's not really what's going to happen with New England now, because you got two tight ends that are really good. Aguilar, I think they're going to use them as you said. I think they're using them as the Raiders used them on the outside, stretch that field and open up that middle. So I think
Chris Bourne is deadly in the middle of the field.
Right. And so I think that's right. I think that's probably why not the overreaction, but bringing in the two top tight ends. So I think I like all these signings. These are big time guys.
One of the write-ups on Bourne when Garoppolo was healthy was Bourne was a chain moving machine. He was described as for Garoppolo. He would just know where the chains were and he would move them. Garoppolo needed somebody to get the ball to. He would get it to him. So he can work in between the hash marks, which is New England's bread and butter, right? And that's going to be, like to your point, Chris, that's going to be Newton's bread and butter, because Newton isn't going to throw the ball 30, 40 yards downfield. He don't have the arm for that anymore. Yeah, he'll hit Aguilar once in a while if he is your quarterback, but his bread and butter is going to be in the center of the field, 10 to 15 yards down the field, in between the hash marks. That's all his arm's going to give you, Well,
again, bringing it to that now, Mark, okay? Talking about the guys that have been brought back. So Wise, we talked about a little bit. Bethel, we talked about a little bit. Again, the Trent Brown signing. Okay.
I like the signing.
I like it too.
And I told you last week on the show, Chris, I thought that meant Cannon was going to go, and Cannon
and he
went.
was. And he was. And I like the pick swaps for Cannon. I do. I like
I
the
do.
pick swaps. It moves them
Chris,
up a little
you
bit.
moved up to 109 in the 4th round. You moved up like 20 spots with that.
And that's important. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, look, those picks down there in the 3rd, 4th round, I mean, those are important picks if they don't screw them up. I mean,
Chris,
last year.
Chris Galladay from Detroit, who's looking to cash in this free agency, was a 3rd round draft pick.
Yep. And
Did
isn't
he
he on the verge of agreeing with somebody right now?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Marvin Jones agreed with Jacksonville, so that's a weapon for Trevor Lawrence.
Well, so then Galladay's still available. Samuel's
I
still
think he
available.
is.
Davis
Samuel's-
is already gone.
Schuster Smith still available.
Right. That's interesting. I mean, will he go boom right away tomorrow? I know we're a little all over the place, but
Somebody said Schuster Smith might be willing, Chris, to sign a 1-year deal just to say, hey, let me prove that I still got it, and then next year I'll go get my $80 million deal. When the cap regulates itself again.
Well, because they were talking about him going possibly to the Giants. Okay.
Maybe.
But here's the thing. Okay. When you're getting it back to Cam Newton right now, because people are criticizing, say, okay, yeah, you're signing all these guys. You have no quarterback. You just have no quarterback, no serviceable quarterback to throw the ball to. 8 touchdowns, so on and so forth. Come on, Mark. Wake up, Mark.
Chris,
wake
come
up,
on.
please. Okay. So you sign them to 1-year deal. It's that $13 million incentives. You give them 5. Okay, it's cheap. You're getting him on the cheap.
You're giving him backup quarterback money.
The reason why they had to do it, I don't think you get Hunter Henry to sign. I don't think you get Judon. I don't think you get Smith. I don't think you get Bourne. I just don't think you get these guys to walk in because you had no face.
Yeah.
Are you going to sell Stidham to those guys?
No.
Look, say whatever you want about Newton and how bad he was last year, and he was. Are there some built-in excuses? No weapons. He came in late, had COVID, and missed 3 games and was just falling behind. Fine. I told you last year there were guys wide open, and he was short hopping. He was skipping the ball. So I agree with some of what Rodney Harrison has to say, but let me finish. But the thing with Cam Newton is you needed a face. No matter what you say about Cam Newton, he's well respected in the league. Players like him. Okay. He's a name. He's still a name. 2 years ago.
And he spoke very highly of Belichick and playing for Belichick.
Which, yeah, I mean, you know, Belichick. I mean, you stroke his ego.
But I think that might have resonated with players, Chris, because you know what Gronk and Brady kind of insinuated, right? But
no, Brady always said that he appreciated what he did.
He did. But some of his actions with Gronk and some of his antics kind of said otherwise. Yeah. But anyway, you're right. He always publicly said the right thing. The other imbecile Gronk just, I'm having fun, you idiot, right? But listen. But people realize it's a business, right? So Brady wanted his money. And if the Patriots did what they were supposed to do in 2017 with him and extended him, he'd still be here, right? So it had nothing to do with Belichick. It had to do with the fact that they didn't want to pay him what he wanted back in 2017.
Right.
When they got rid of Garoppolo, right? So that's the other thing that pisses me off, Chris, about the so-called flagship station. They don't understand that all the nonsense that they've been talking about since Brady left is all BS, because if you took care of him in 2017, he wouldn't have one bad thing to say about this organization. He'd still be your quarterback. It all came down to dollars and cents. Come on. That's all it was.
It did. And the other thing, too, is...
But, Chris, my point, though, just let me...
New England would have been bad last year, too.
No, they would have been.
Even with Brady.
No, they absolutely would have been. But my point was that free agents understood that what Gronk and Brady did was a business decision. It was about money. I think they looked at Newton and said, listen, like you said, Chris, they respect Newton. Newton's telling us this guy's like a genius. Why wouldn't you want to go play here with me and with this guy? So you're right. I think he probably sold this place to some of these guys.
Yeah. That's who he is, Mark. He's a guy that's respected around the league. He's still a face. He's still a name. You couldn't sell Stidham to these guys. You just couldn't do it. So my point is this. You need a place filler. You need somebody. You need a face. So fine. You bring this guy in. You're going to pay him $5 million. I still believe that if Garoppolo shakes free.
Oh, he's coming here.
That he's going to trade for him.
Oh, he absolutely will. He positively will. If Garoppolo, if San Fran gets their quarterback somehow, whether it's the draft, whether it's a trade, if they get their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo will be a New England Patriot.
And that's the whole thing. And so then what do you have left? What you have then is quarterback competition come spring training, come training camp. You have a quarterback competition. And you're basically saying to Cam, hey, look, it's in your hands. You want to win this job, then win the job. Jimmy, you want to win this job, win the job. You know, if
Garoppolo don't win the job, I think he'll be happy making $5 million as a backup. What are you going to do? You didn't win the job.
Right. Because, and again, I mean, I don't know how much, when they trade, if they trade for him, how much of that deal.
And if Newton Chris has a great camp and they both have great camps and you ended up with Garoppolo and Garoppolo ends up being your starter and somebody's interested in Cam Newton to make him their starter because they have an opening at quarterback, Belichick would respect him and say, okay, you know what, Cam, I'll trade you to give you a spot as being a starter because you're not going to be my starter because of, Jimmy.
Mark, let's face it. And he mocks frantically. You remind me of Schefter. Hold on, because you're trying to figure out what the deals are, what's been done.
I want to give you this quote while you're in the middle of this thought. Patrick Chung at 5:41 tweets out, "Big news coming. Stay tuned." With exclamation points.
So do you think it's on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I don't know what the hell. He's got to know something. Big news coming. Stay tuned. We all know he's coming back, so it's not about him. So what's the big news coming? Stay tuned. Why would he tweet that at 5:18?
We could speculate all day long, Mark.
That's what's fun to do. Is another shoe gonna drop? Are they gonna
Juju Smith-Schuster's coming into Juju Smith's coming, Mark. He's coming in. That's it. He's coming in. Lock, stock, and barrel with all his head issues.
I'm telling you now. The New England
Tom Brady's going to break his contract and come back to New England.
Listen, I'm telling you now, Chris, and you mark my words. What's it? March 16th on our show, the New England Patriots are getting a quarterback. They're going to get either Jimmy Garoppolo or Deshaun Watson.
Today you thought it was Wilson.
No. I changed my mind. The more I looked into it and thought about it and looked at the contracts and looked at how much money these guys actually have guaranteed for this year on the books, they can't afford Wilson. Watson and Garoppolo got most of their money up front in signing bonuses. Do you know that Watson's money against the books this year is only $10 million?
But Mark, listen, I'm going to say it again, and I've been saying this. If you were trying to make this argument for Wilson, then I could at least have that conversation with you. But the problem with I'm talking about Wilson in Seattle. The problem with Watson, okay, is first Caserio and company don't want him to go. They don't want him. They don't want him to go. It's not like they're driving up the price. They genuinely don't want him to go. So this is to get him out of there. You're not talking about 2 2s, a 3, a 2 1s, a 3, and a player. That's not going to get it done here, man.
Okay, so Chris,
what's going to get it done
Chris,
is like
you give up 3 1s, Chris. One of them is your quarterback. So this year, the 15th.
You want to give the Herschel Walker deal then?
No,
is what you're saying for
Chris,
this guy.
Listen, Chris, think about it. Listen. So the 15th pick in the draft. If I told you it's Deshaun Watson, that's your 15th pick in the draft. You just drafted Deshaun Watson. Okay, great. Now you give up. Deshaun Watson probably puts you at least in the AFC Championship, maybe the Super Bowl. So you're drafting 30th or 31st next year and the year after with all these guys you just brought in that are under contract for 4 years. So you're giving up 2 picks in a row. That's number 30 in the draft and whatever else you're going to give up. Well, I would do that in a minute, because you've got your quarterback for the next 10 years.
Wouldn't you rather do this?
What would
how many more years does Russell Wilson have, would you say?
Maybe 5 or 6.
Okay. So to me, you can give 2 1s.
Listen,
3.
Wilson's not going anywhere. They said the Chicago Bears gave them a haul of stuff and they wouldn't do it.
Well, listen, I don't know. I don't think Belichick is built in a way to give that much capital away for somebody. And on top of it, I think it's a moot point because I just don't think at all.
Okay, listen.
I just don't think that
listen,
Houston's going to let this guy go.
Everybody, you heard it here first on Corso and Catone. We will be getting one of those quarterbacks before the season starts. You heard it here on Corso and Catone, not on our flagship station. You heard it here.
Okay. Well, again, I think Mark, what do you got over there? What did you,
And when it happens, I'm flying out there because you're going to buy me a steak dinner.
Mark, what is it what do you got? What kind of libations are we doing over
Listen.
there? Belichick's never going to do it, Mark.
All
He's
right.
never, ever, ever going to give up
And
that
everybody
much.
said he was never going to spend $200 million in free agency, and he just did it. So
He had
this is-
to.
listen, and he has to get a quarterback. This is the year. He ain't going into the season with this guy.
He had Mark.
He ain't going into the season with Weekend at Bernie's.
So you don't
I'm
subscribe
telling
to
you right now.
you don't subscribe to the excuses of
No.
you didn't
I
learn the
saw-
playbook. You didn't.
No, I saw too many mechanical issues, Chris. I just find it. I mean, call me a pessimist. Yes, he had excuses. I get it, Chris. But then when I looked at his mechanics, I mean, you're a guy. You're a coach. You're a coach. Well, you're a head coach, high school head coach.
On the first game the other night.
No, I mean, you tell me what you see mechanics wise with that kid.
I'm 1-0 as a head coach, Mark.
There you go.
You know,
But mechanically, what did you see?
Mark, I got to tell you, the other day, Saturday, was the first time I was able see in youth football. Only the head coach can talk to the referees.
Yep.
Okay. And Saturday was the first time I was able to talk to the referees. Okay. There should have been, you should have had it on film. I think I was out on the fifth. I think I was all the way out to the hashes yelling at these officials. Okay.
You're lucky you didn't get thrown out.
I think I almost did. One official yelled to me, "Okay, that's enough." I said, "That'll be enough when you start calling the game right. Then it'll be enough." So, Mark, listen, okay. The bottom line is, I don't think they overspent. I think they did the things they needed.
No, I don't
to
think
do.
I don't think they overspent.
The days of guys coming in just to win a Super Bowl are gone. And that's what I was trying to illustrate with the Kansas Cities and the New Orleans and the Rams and Seattle and teams like this and Tampa, teams that everybody has to spend money now. That's the way these players are built. They're built for the money. They'll worry about the winning second. So so everybody on
money,
the flagship,
it's about imaging, it's about their product and making money off all this other stuff too, right?
Right. So again, all so Mark, again, and we're gonna all that nonsense about other teams don't do it, now you have to. It's just the landscape of the league now. It's what you have to do. But I agree with the fact that you need to draft better. If you draft better, then you don't have to take so many guys. Okay. So Mark, we're gonna go to break. And on the other side, we're going to have our expert on for our NASCAR minute. Before we get there, Mark, we're over, Joe, but we're going to keep going. Are they done? Let's just talk about that. Are they done?
Well,
I forget what Chung had to say. Do you think they're done? Do you think they got more to do?
I don't think they're done.
And I don't think
they're done. But I don't think they're going to make any more of these big $40, $50 million, $30 million deals. But I think you're going to see them bring in some of the more typical type of Patriots signings, guys for $4 million, $5 million, guys that are going to fill out the rest of the roster, Chris. We talked about this earlier. They still need another defensive tackle, right? Lineman. Danny Shelton was just released, former Patriot. You might see them bring back a Shelton or Lawrence Guy. One of those guys has to come back, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Van Noy comes back on a 1 or 2 year cheap deal, right? Those are types of fill-in players that were with us that I think you need to round out the rest of this defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Chris, listen, you're going to draft. I hate to say Belichick's going to draft the receiver, but you probably got to take a receiver, Chris, right? In one of the first couple of rounds and maybe a young quarterback too. If
Micah doesn't drop to him.
Well, if Parsons drops, he drops. And listen, and I joke about Cam, but listen, we're going to find out if everything that Cam says about the playbook, about COVID, about all that, we're going to find out very quickly if that was the truth. Because
the best Cam ever was is when he had the tight end.
He had the tight end. So we're going to find out. Yep. So now he's got 2 of them. So we're going to find out, Chris, what it was, right?
And so real quick, Mark.
I don't think but to answer your point, I don't think the Patriots are done, but I think they're going to be lesser deals. They're going to bring in more free agents, but just not, but guys that are affordable, they're not, given $20 million guaranteed.
I think they're going to make a lot of hay in guys East. coming up.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
And they're gonna be a
probably,
lot of hate. So Mark, just real quick, and then we're gonna get to the other side. But the guys that are left, the unsigned guys on their team. Okay, and we go through them real quick because there's only a couple of guys. I think they should completely clean house, especially what they did today. I'm just gonna name them: Andrews, Burkhead, Butler, Brooks, Bird, Calhoun, Copeland, Davis, Cody Davis, Illuminor, Folk, Lawrence Guy, Hoyer, Moncrief, Jason McCourty, Simon, Tooney's gone, Dietrich Wise already signed, James White. Okay, Mark. To me, when I go down this list, it's Andrews, it's Guy, okay, Illuminor. All right, now that you did what you did with Cannon, okay, because Owen New is going to be on that offensive line. They'll shuffle it up. They may move Win around, but no, Owen New, that name I can never say, he'll be on that team. But Illuminor, I think they need. Guy, I think they need. Andrews, they have to get. Okay. Who's the other guy I said? Guy, I said Guy. Otherwise, and Jason McCourty, you can let him go. James White, you can let him go. I don't think there's another guy on this list that you need to resign.
The only guy, Chris, I would say maybe you bring back because you probably could get him for $2 million because he showed flashes last year. Maybe if you put him with these tight ends, he could flash some more. Maybe you bring back Bird.
You got Myers, you got Gunner, you got Edelman coming back. You know what I mean? It's going to be a tight. It's going to be a real crowded. It's going to be a real crowded.
But it's going to be a wide receiver room, Chris. I don't think without that alpha one. A lot of twos, threes, and fours.
I think somebody's going to shake out when the releases all happen.
Okay.
I really do.
All
right. When we come back, listen, and for everybody out there, free agency's not done. Next week, we're going to be talking more about this. Only now we'll be talking more about what happens now with the draft as it relates to what they've done, because by then it'll all be finished. But right now, yeah, the Patriots have been active. You got to feel good as a Patriots fan that they're addressing it. You know, they could have sucked for the next 3 years and done nothing. They could have sucked and done nothing. Yes, I get it. Everybody feels like, hey, the quarterback position isn't solved right now. And you're bringing all these guys and you haven't solved the quarterback position. So who the hell's throwing the ball? Well, would you rather have Belichick just not spending any of it? No. So I'm encouraged by what they're doing, regardless if you feel they're overspending. On the other side, we're going to get to our expert hotline, talk with Chad Campbell on a NASCAR Minute, get a little bit into the NCAA to answer one of our callers' questions last week as to who we like. All that and more coming right back. Corso and Catone.
How do I get to the point where I understand my passion enough to communicate it outward and dial myself in so that I can craft my own sauce? But you don't have anyone that's going to give you the right advice. Now you do. We've been discussing where we live and what areas do we want to always talk about. And really, it's startup, it's finance, and drive. We are Special Sauce Podcast.
Back in with Corso and Catone, and Mark and I are so very excited today, and we want to thank the people over at Special Sauce Podcast. Again, log on, watch their podcast. It's excellent. Make sure you subscribe to them as well as this show. Make sure you're subscribing out there on YouTube. But yeah, check them out. A lot of smart people. So Mark, right now, we want to go to the expert hotline. I want to get into our NASCAR Minute. There's been 2 races that have happened since we spoke to Chad last. And I told you, I'm going to make the New England fans love NASCAR. I'm bound and determined to do it. And there's been some exciting things that have happened. So let's bring him in. So let's bring Chad Campbell on the expert hotline. Chad, welcome in again. We appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem. How's it going, guys?
Well, you know, it's going, Chad. We're talking a lot of Patriot free agency and some of the crazy things they've done today and yesterday and you know, building their roster and building their team. But Chad, listen, you know, getting right into it, you know, last 2 races, you know, we saw it at Las Vegas and over in Phoenix. I'm looking at these guys, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, a couple of shows ago, but we talked about the fact that, guys like Bell and Byron and McDowell, and these guys have been sitting up at the top, hanging around. And what is there changing the guard? I mean, in these two past races in Vegas and in Phoenix, Bell and both finished in the top 10, unless I'm mistaken.
Right.
So
Right.
should we get used to seeing the guy? Look, I'll even throw Larson up there, and he won. I mean, Truex is a name, I get it, but Larson won, and he had his issues, and he come back now on a team, so he's relatively new on this team, Hendrick, and
Right.
and he's winning a race. So what do you make, Chad? What do you make of this? Is this just new blood now?
Well, I wouldn't put Larson in new blood. I mean, he for being in inferior equipment when he was Chip Ganassi, he still won his share of races there. Now that he's in really good equipment, definitely look for him to be up front quite a bit. And obviously Bell and Byron, same with them. Byron's been in good equipment and he's been competitive. They both, Bell won a lot of races, same with Byron, and they lower to, in the other two major series for NASCAR. Now Bell's in really good equipment this year. So yeah, those two guys are going to be up there. I have no doubt that you're going to see those guys getting top fives and top tens consistently throughout the year, and then sprinkling some wins. But I wouldn't say they're going to be winning a lot. I still think you're going to see Harvick, Hamlin. They're going to be up there winning a lot of races here coming up, especially this weekend.
Well, and talk to me, like, they're in Atlanta now this weekend coming. Yes.
Right.
Okay. So what do you?
It's a cookie cutter mile and a half. It's similar to Las Vegas. So you're going to probably have, I look for Harvick to get back up there. I'm not going to hit the panic button on Harvick yet, like I have on Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah,
Harvick
we'll get to that in a second.
Nine races. Yeah, he won 9 races last year, so he's going to be fine. And this is a really, really good track for Harvick. So I definitely look for Harvick to possibly win at least a top 5. Same with Truex and Keselowski. So those guys that have won a lot of races and won championships, they're going to show up this week. And even Kyle Busch, I'd go out there and say he's going to get a top 5 this weekend.
Mark, you're rooting for Harvick, right?
Oh, absolutely, Chris.
Yeah, of course. You should be. I mean, why not? But Chad, listen, I mean, and that, you mentioned Busch, that you're not panicking about Harvick. I hear you saying that. And again, he's running, he's usually running in the top 10. He's usually in there. But
Right.
when it comes to him, and it comes to Busch, and I'm going to look at those, because to me, I look at those two guys as the elder statesmen right now. I mean, God, Harvick is 45 years old, and he's still running around those tracks.
Right.
So,
Right.
and Busch is in his, Truex too, but Truex is still winning races. Busch is 37 years old, something like that. And I know he's got part ownership in a team, and they run the Xfinity, and they run, some trucks, truck right. races, which I know he runs as well. The question I have though for you is, I mean, Harvick kind of seems a little bit like this too. The killer instinct that Busch has. I mean, I saw some things go on the track that I felt like Busch would kind of run somebody into the wall for, and I don't see that happening anymore with this guy.
Right.
Is he just hanging around to promote? Yeah. Is he hanging around just to promote the team? I mean, what's the deal with him?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the 42 and Ross Chastain turning him pretty blatantly, coming off of 4 there. But yeah, I like I said before, I don't know. I know he's vocalized his displeasure with this rules package with the decreased horsepower, and he's also expressed his displeasure with the no practice. So I think that's probably got him a little bit discouraged and probably just kind of given up a little bit. But like you said, years past, if somebody went up like Chastain did and just hooked him and got him going, there's no way. As you saw later in the race, he got right behind the 42 car and just passed him. And the guy that won championships and won all these 200 plus races, no way he's going to let that go I don't want to say punished, but like without any consequences, and 42 would have been in the wall. So I don't know what it is. He did sign a multi-year deal with Mars again to keep them on board for a few more years. But I wish I knew. I wish I knew what was going on in his head, what's going on there. But it's definitely concerning to me because he won one race last year and only won one race in the last half of 2019. So I've definitely pressed the panic button, and I don't know. I'm baffled by him. But Harvick's gonna be fine. He's gonna win his races, and I'm not concerned with him one bit.
And that's coming off, and that Busch, that's coming off winning the championship 2 years ago. And so,
Right.
yeah, it's surprising.
But he didn't win a race for the last 21 races until that championship race. So
Right.
he started to struggle, halfway through the 2019 season. He got lucky there with a lot of people making horrible decisions in that championship race that allowed him to win. But yeah, he's struggling. It's definitely got to be something, up top there under the helmet.
Chad, let me ask you. Chad, let me ask you a question. So I know in other sports, like for instance, like for football, for instance, they talked about, the cliff and guys, you hit that cliff and that's it. You go over the cliff and you're done. So is he at that point where he's going over that cliff and that's it? He's done.
I mean, it's possible. Look at Jimmy Johnson. The last 2+ years of his career, he didn't win a race after winning 7 championships. He was quite a bit older than Kyle Busch, but that happened there. Jeff Gordon, same thing. I mean, he did make the playoffs last year, but his wins went down exponentially. Richard Petty didn't win a race the last 10 years of his career, and he won over 200 races. So I hope that's not what's going on here, but you're right. It's definitely a very strong possibility that he's just maybe hit that wall or went off that cliff, and he's just not going to be competitive. I sure hope not, because that's not the guy that I started watching.
Mark, he's pulling Richard Petty out. He's
Jesus Christ.
He's going deep into the archives for this one right here. Yeah, you know what? You know something. You know something. You can tell when a NASCAR guy is pissed off at his driver when he starts going back to Richard Petty right now.
Yeah.
Chad, you're pissed off at Busch. I don't blame you one second. Well, listen, Chad. Let's pay attention to what happens in Atlanta. Let's see. I hope you're right about Harvick, of course, but we want to get you back on in a couple of weeks. Talk about the next 2 races and what's happening and any type of controversy. Because I love a sport where it's encouraged by the experts to put somebody into the wall.
You better believe it, and they should, and it doesn't happen enough. They need to do that a little more. I think everybody will tell you that. But yeah, let's for Harvick to be in victory lane. You can put it down. I said it.
All right, Chad. Well, listen, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming on Corso Catone. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll talk to you very soon, okay?
All right, guys.
Take care. Yep.
Thanks.
Mark, listen, they should get you behind a wheel of that. One of those vehicles.
Could you imagine me behind one of those?
You can put somebody into the wall, right?
Oh.
Well, listen, we're appreciative of Chad joining us, keeping us up to date on the NASCAR circuit. And like I said, I think it's exciting as hell. And that was brought to us by Jag Media Productions. Log on to their website, talk to them over there. They're fantastic production. They produce podcasts, they produce live shows, films, things like that. Log on if you have anything you're doing like that, small, large, whatever. It doesn't make a difference what the project is. Get in touch with Jag Media Productions, and we appreciate them sponsoring that segment. So, Mark, listen, before we get to our final break and our final thoughts, we had a caller last week that gave us a call, wanted to know who we thought was going to win the NCAA tournament. Now, I know it doesn't start for another week.
No, Christopher.
What, Thursday?
Friday.
Friday.
Well, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday they got the playing games.
Yeah.
They got the playing games. Yeah, you thought it was next week. You're trying to cover yourself now.
Thursday they start. They always start on a Thursday. Well,
they did some because of COVID. It's different this year, though, Chris. The opening round goes all the way through Monday, where it never used to do that. So the opening 2 rounds. But
all right, Mark. Well, answer the callers. Oh, I'm sorry, caller. We're a week late in answering your
but that's
question.
Okay because the brackets are in now. So she asked who's in our Final Four. So as you know, Chris,
and who's going to win?
Yeah, who's going to win? Who's in our Final Four? So as you know, growing up in this part of the country, I grew up a Big East guy, right? And unfortunately, there's no Big East team that's going to go to the Final Four this year. But I was always a Big East guy. I go to the PC games regularly with my son, the Province College games. But so my Final Four, Chris, I have Gonzaga, I have Texas, I have Illinois, and I have Ohio State. I think the Big Ten is the best conference in the country, without question, this year. I have Gonzaga and Illinois playing for the national championship.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me what you're about to tell me right now.
Listen, and it took a lot for me to put Gonzaga that far. I just don't know if they've played. I don't think they've played enough teams in that conference. I think they're going to get slapped in the mouth, and I don't know how they'll respond. But I'll put them in the championship game. But my national champion is going to be from the Big Ten. I'm picking Illinois to win the whole thing.
So you're basically using the same argument you used when the Pats drafted Harry, pretty much. That he doesn't play anybody. You know?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I am, and I'm going to pick Illinois to win a national championship.
Okay, well,
even though Gonzaga is undefeated.
Just to upset the cart, I'm going to take Gonzaga. Okay, that's who I'm taking in my bracket. Mark and I are going to.
Of course you are. You're a Pac-12 guy out there.
You know, yeah. That's it. I'm taking Gonzaga, right? And I'm still holding out hope for Harry. Harry. Now with all these additions, maybe he could do something. Okay, so Mark has Illinois winning the NCAA tournament. I hope that helps you out there. I have Gonzaga winning, and I know that's not a big stretch for anybody. I know in a lot of brackets right now, Gonzaga is probably penciled in that center, but that's where I have them. So we're going to go to our final break, and we come back, give our final thoughts about the doings of free agency and everything we talked about today. More after this.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. Mark, this thing flew by tonight. I'll tell you, this thing flew by, and it tends to do that anytime we're talking free agency and the Patriots and things like that. But yeah, we appreciate Chad Campbell coming on board, our NASCAR expert on the Expert Hotline, again sponsored by Jag Media Productions. So Mark, your final thoughts today.
Well, my final thought, Chris, is I got two final thoughts. One is, listen, the Patriots did what I don't know if anybody thought they really would do. We talked about, hey, they're going to have to spend some money. Did I think they would do this? Absolutely not, but I'm glad to see it. And listen, it's going to make for a real great rest of the offseason, and I'm excited. I'm excited about the upcoming season. And the other thing I want to throw out there is my final take, Chris, and we could talk about this next week, is there's a burning rumor out there that the Indiana Hoosiers, we just got finished with our NCAA take, are going to reach out to Brad Stevens to be their next head coach. He's born and raised in Indiana. He denied the fact that he's interested in the job. But, we'll see how true that is or not true. But that's something I think we need to, we'll just see develop over the next week and talk about maybe next week.
Well, you know what? When there's smoke, there's fire sometimes, right, Mark? And if things keep going, and we didn't talk about the Celtics today, we'll get into them next week. They, again, they're against Utah tonight. I know Mark's been checking it out, and it looks like there's a 1-point game right now in the second quarter. Looks like they're going to the half right now, and they look like they're down by 1. So they're playing tough with Utah, but it doesn't seem like they can, that they can beat the big teams, right? I mean, they came out of the break and they got shelled by the Nets. So yeah, we're going to talk about that next week, of course, and get into some Bruins talk, and they've been getting beat pretty bad too. So we'll keep an eye on that story this week for you about the Brad Stevens situation. But Mark, my final take on today is I don't necessarily agree with the pundits out there, with the people that basically say this is an indictment on, Belichick's ability to bring guys in, to his genius of getting guys like he used to get guys on the cheap. And it's because he screwed up with Brady that's why this is happening. Again, I disagree with that. If it's an indictment on Belichick, it's an indictment on his ability to draft. They would not have to be signing 6 guys at heavy money if they drafted Andrews, if they drafted Murray, if they drafted Metcalf. And those are just 3 of many that we talked about. So to me, that's not the issue. Isn't his screw up with Brady. I don't think Brady's got anything to do with this. This team would have been just as bad, maybe 1 win, 2 wins more, whatever. They would not be a playoff year with the personnel they had, and Brady would have been miserable doing it. Okay. Yeah, if they had this year, the quarterback situation solved. But I don't think that they're having to do this based upon Brady leaving. It just doesn't track for me. And so that's what I take from this. I like what they did. I'm interested to see what Chung means. Mark, since you've said that, the wheels are spinning in my head right now to see what this guy is
now,
talking
I don't know
about.
why he would tweet that. I mean, is it just a meaningless tweet to play games with people? I don't know, but
Right.
but I thought that was a strange tweet.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So again, that's my takeaway from this. So Mark, some people to thank tonight. As always, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank the people over at Special Sauce Podcast. Again, tune into their podcast, take a look at it. It's they're smart people there. They really are a lot more intelligent than Mark is. I can tell you that right now. But the people over at Jag Media Productions, log on to their site. Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal law firm. Allow us to be your voice. Studio 42 Designs in North Providence, Rhode Island, and Mountain View Home Watch and Security, Scottsdale's leading private home and security firm. And let's thank Joe. We didn't hear a lot from you today. You didn't.
had me on my toes tonight, Christopher. You had me on my toes. That's why.
He's asleep. He took a nap.
You know what that translates to, people out there, that I had him on his toes. That means Mark and I are in a post show meeting for about an hour and a half
notes.
to 2
We
hours.
got notes for sure.
Okay, that's what having him on his toes with. So before we get to that, I'm going to thank him so that he doesn't keep us too long. The excellent, wonderful, spectacular job that Joe Guarnieri does in producing this show.
On.
We certainly appreciate that. And so join us next week. And on a programming note, Mark, you know what's funny? And Joe, see, I'm in Arizona. Okay, we all know that. Mark and Joe are on the East Coast. Okay, in New England. We don't exercise daylight savings. We don't do it here. Arizona just doesn't subscribe to it. So the time change, we're now 3 hours behind. Okay. We want to maintain that 5 o'clock Pacific time. So we're going to be changing. So on a programming note, we'll be on next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Mountain and Pacific time. So again, we're changing it from 7 to 8 p.m. So that's a programming note. And listen, I encourage every one of you out there. Joe's going to have us up on the stream. He'll have us up on YouTube this week. You can listen to this show. You can listen to previous shows. And please subscribe. We love that you chat in. We love that you call in and have an interest. But subscribe. Get on there. Push the buttons. Push the little plus button and the subscribe button and all the things I know so much about, Mark. So again, 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Next week, join us. We're going to talk about Celtics, Bruins, all the things we didn't get to, and some more free agency talk. For Mark Catone, Joe Guarnieri, I'm Chris Corso. So long, everyone.